I'm not going to sit here and bore you with a super long intro. If you clicked on this video, chances are you know what a draft grades video is. And if you don't, I'll run it down for you real quick. Pretty self-explanatory. Basically, we're going team by team, talking about the draft. I'm going to assign a letter grade to every single pick and then give an overall grade for the team in question. Going to be talking about all 32 teams over the summer. That's my big twist that I put on it. Not exactly reinventing the wheel, but not a lot of people give each team their own video to shine. Usually it's division by division, conference by conference, and those are totally legitimate ways of going about things and probably take a lot less work and save you a lot of time, but hey, I like to do things a little bit differently. Keep in mind, though, because of that time crunch, this intro is pre-recorded. I'm recording this all the way back in May. Who knows how long these videos will take to come out, so just keep that in mind. You know what team you're watching. You don't need me to tell you in the intro. You clicked on the video, you can read the title, you can see the thumbnail. Two quick things to keep in mind. Number one, I'm not a professional. I don't claim to be a professional. I am very much an amateur. So if I disagree with something your favorite team did, I'm not saying I know better than your favorite general manager, your favorite scout, if you're a freak and have one of those. I'm just saying I didn't agree with the pick. I didn't agree with the process. That's my opinion. Feel free to disagree and let me know in the comments below why you disagree with me or agree with the team, whichever it may be. Regardless, the point is, I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody here. I just have opinions and I like to share them. Also, I have changed my grading scale up from last year, and that is to say that I actually have a grading scale now, as you can see on the screen. This will keep things more uniform, allow me to stay more consistent, and also provide some transparency between me and you as the viewer. So, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into whatever team we're talking about today. I'm not gonna lie, I have really been struggling with the intro to this video, because I have to kick this off by addressing a gargantuan elephant that's standing in the corner of my room and has been looming over me and my workspace for the past year. And I can't let it go unaddressed. I simply have to address this rather large elephant. And if you've been around this channel for a year, or if you saw my Rams draft grades video last year, you know that it has to do with my grade for a certain defensive lineman out of Florida State. And I'm not talking Jared Verse, who I gave the Rams an A+ for. I said he was a superstar in the making, looked great as a rookie. However, his running mate in college, that became his running mate in the NFL, Braden Fisk, I was not as high on. In fact, if the spectrum is A+ to F, I put the two teammates on opposite ends of the spectrum. Gave Braden Fisk an F. I think I went even as far as to call the process of selecting Fisk malpractice. That was obviously wrong. Fisk looked awesome as a rookie, and so I wanted to take a moment here at the beginning of the video to address that, because that is something I have gotten a ton of comments about, and rightfully so. I mean, people have been coming back to victory lap me saying that I don't think Fisk is, I thought the second round was way too early for him, and I didn't think he was like a full-time starter. I thought he was somebody that could come in on third downs as a DPR, and taking that in the second round where there were guys who I saw as full-time starters was a big mistake. Fisk proved me wrong right away. Had over 8 sacks, was, third place in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting, was instrumental to the Rams' success on defense last year, and just looked like a stud. I'm not going to say he made a fan out of me, because I feel like if I say that, there's going to be a lot of people in the comments who say, stay on that side, but realistically, I had a lot of fun watching Fisk last year, because a lot of my problems with him, while they weren't inherently solved, they didn't matter nearly as much as I thought they would, right? Like, some of my biggest critiques of Fisk were his ability to get off blocks and his play strength. That doesn't matter a whole lot when you're super quick and you're able to draw up really creative stunts and blitzes for a guy, or when you further hone your hand fighting and you develop a bag of moves that allows you to keep offensive linemen's hands off of you. When that becomes the case, you don't have to shed blocks because you're just hand fighting, and Fisk really looked good as a hand fighter last year. And that was a big reason why he was so productive. And there was even a little bit of a bull rush in there. Like, he really, really impressed me. To paint the full picture for you, though, I will say his run defense, while better than I thought it would be, is still an area he needs to improve. And that's something he'll even tell you, right? Like, he he did an interview recently. I read an article about it where he was talking about how his run defense is the area of his game he is most looking to improve going into this season. And if he can get that figured out, then boy howdy, he'll be a superstar. But yeah, I just want to take a couple minutes here at the beginning to say I've seen the comments, and you're right, I was wrong. I'm happy to say that because I didn't have any like ill will towards Braden Fisk. I think I even said in the video I wanted to be wrong about my grade, but I had my reservations and they ended up not mattering. So, hopefully he continues to kill it through this coming season and every season after that. And I hope that video is something I can look back on in 10 years and go, man, what the fuck was I thinking? I'm already kind of there now, but if he lasts for a long period of time, which I have no doubt that he will, then I can really go back and just dunk on myself. If I ever make a video in the future where I'm reviewing old draft grade videos, and that'll be one where I probably have to sit and ponder for a few minutes. But regardless, he was an awesome player last year, and I wanted to come on here and say I'm aware of that. I was wrong. Happy to say I'm wrong. But anyways, with that handled and addressed, let's go ahead and talk about what the Rams did this year. Some of their new guys coming in, starting out with their first pick, Terrence Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon, who they actually traded down out of the first round to select. I was a big fan of that move for the Rams. Getting a first round pick next year is huge. It gives you more ammunition. It gives you the ability to add more players if you need to. And, with Stafford being on the older side and not knowing his future, he's playing this year. He might not be playing the year after, right? So potentially there's a world where the Rams have to take that first round pick and their own first round pick and maybe a little bit extra, package it, move up and take one of these, super weapon quarterbacks that could be coming out, give McVay the successor to Stafford or something of that nature. I know there were rumors that they were actually planning to do that this year with Jackson Dart. They dodged a bullet. I think it is awesome that the Rams don't have to deal with Jackson Dart. I was not a big Dart guy. I made a whole video about the quarterbacks this year. You can go hear my full thoughts there. He's not really pertinent to this video other than bringing up this point, so I'm not going to delve too deeply into it, but I do think the Rams dodged a bullet not being able to select Jackson Dart. But talking about the actual pick here, Terrence Ferguson, I'm going to be honest, this one really boils down to value and the guys that were still on the board. That's why this is graded a little bit lower. I do see the vision. Ferguson has good enough athletic tools and, is improving as a blocker, solid hands. He's definitely somebody that, can be a Tyler Higbee. And in my opinion, that's kind of what you're looking at with his ceiling is Tyler Higbee. And, for the Rams, that's fine. Like, I'm sure that is fine for them. They're content with that. Hell, he might even snatch Higbee's chain this year, right? He might end up as the starting tight end for them. But the problem is, if you're going to take a guy that needs to develop a little bit, I don't see the reasoning to not swing for the fences, right? A guy like Elijah Arroyo would have been a home run pick here. He goes just 4 picks later to the Seahawks. Someone like Gunnar Helm out of Texas who, has problems in his own right, but I thought was a much better tight end than Ferguson. I didn't think Ferguson was like a can't miss tight end, and taking him here at 214, you're kind of saying like, this is a guy we need in the building. And I just didn't see that from Ferguson. Now, obviously the Rams saw something I didn't. And, much like with Fisk last year, I'd love to be wrong, but just kind of running through my notes here. He's got a good frame. He's got good length. He was better as a blocker last year, but still needs to improve, especially when blocking on the move. He whiffs a lot in space. He does a pretty good job of high pointing the football. His catch radius is really good thanks to those longer arms. He's a pretty smooth route runner as a tight end. He has enough juice to threaten up the seam. He is able to quickly transition from receiver to runner after the catch. He's pretty quick off the line, and he was quite versatile in college. He lined up a little bit of everywhere. But outside of that, as an athlete, like I said, definitely has enough juice, but he's not a great athlete. He's not great in contested catch situations, definitely needs to get better there. As I mentioned already with the blocking, he needs to improve there, especially if he's going to be more of an inline tight end, which is what I imagine the Rams want to do. As that kind of move tight end that they use, that's pretty much what Puka Nacua does. Now, they could change things up, and Ferguson could be a wing tight end, and then I would have a lot more faith in him, but we'll have to see how that plays out there. And then his drop rate got worse in 2024. It nearly doubled from the previous season. So you're looking at a tight end who, in my opinion, needs to develop as a blocker. His hands got worse last year. He needs to get better at the catch point and doesn't have some crazy high upside. So in the second round, it's just a little rich for me. But then we get into the third round, and stop me if you've heard this one before, but the Rams took an undersized defensive lineman with a really high motor and good athletic tools. I'm not making the same mistake twice. Josiah Stewart was a very nice pick. I like Stewart considerably more than I did Fisk, and I promise I'm not going to compare every pick to Fisk. It's just these first two are a little bit ironic. But Stewart, to me, I had about a third round grade on him. You get him here. In fact, I had an early to a mid third round grade on him. You get him here at the end of the third round. I thought the value was good. The fit's good. You know, the Rams are good with these undersized athletes. And he's somebody that can contribute day one as a rotational pass rusher. Obviously, you have your big two in Verse and Young as your two edge rushers. But Stewart as kind of like, you know, that third player, primarily as a pass rusher on third down, is a really nice addition to this room. You know, Stewart, like I said, isn't the biggest guy in the world at, 6'1", 250 pounds, under 32-inch arms, but what he lacks in size, he more than makes up for in quickness and in football IQ. So we're talking about somebody who has enough speed to threaten the edge or build up a bull rush. He's not going to overwhelm you, but if you line him up as a wide nine and cut him loose against a tackle, he will generate some pop. He has a really nice first step, which is going to help with that, and it also allows him to shoot gaps and beat tackles off the line so they don't even get a chance to put their hands on him. His motor is out of this world, like I already said. Definitely something that sets him apart from some of his peers. He's not an incredible run defender, but you can tell he knows what's going on in front of him, and he can set the edge against tight ends. He can beat guys to spots and make plays in the run game. So even though I'm describing him as more of like a pass rushing specialist, he's definitely capable of stepping in on early downs and contributing, right? Also, as a pass rusher, he has a really nice bag of moves, most notably an inside rip move that he likes to use. And what he'll do is he'll kind of like flash that he's going to cut outside and then cut back across the tackle's face, use that inside rip, and get himself into the backfield. His leg drive is great. He has a lot of power in his hands despite not having a lot of weight to put behind it. He has good bend around the corner. And if you want to drop him into coverage, he's capable. Like, sure, he's not going to go mirror a tight end or something, but he can sit in a zone and he can read and react. He can make plays. He can do his thing. On the flip side of things, like I said, undersized in terms of height, weight, length, the three big things that you want in like freaky edge rushers or whatever. He doesn't have them, but he doesn't need them, quite frankly. His play strength, while solid for his size, is definitely a little bit underwhelming, and there are going to be times where he's going to get swallowed up against the run. He also needs to get a little bit better at counter moves. Usually if that first move doesn't work, or if the tackle knows what he's going to do, he's going to flounder a little bit, but that's definitely something that will come with time. Again, this is a 21-year-old edge rusher, so he has that time and ability to grow, and judging by what the Rams did with Braden Fisk last year, I have no doubt that Stewart can follow a similar routine. And against the run, he's not somebody that's going to consistently stack and shed. Again, playing into that being undersized, that lack of like great play strength or whatever. But overall, with Stewart, you know what you're getting. You're getting someone who is going to be like a, lightning in a bottle on third down. And Lord knows the Rams didn't need more of that, but God, it doesn't hurt, right? It's a very worthwhile addition to this defensive line. So one of the best defensive lines in football got scarier. Stewart is someone that's going to make an impact from day one. Definitely a very, very nice pick. And one of two defensive line additions we'll talk about here. But before we get into that other defensive lineman, we're going to jump to the offensive side of the ball again and talk about Jarquez Hunter, the running back out of Auburn. And I'm just going to say up front, I thought there were better backs on the board. You take a look here at the running backs that were drafted after Hunter. Dylan Sampson would have been a nice pickup, someone who would add more speed to your backfield. Same with Jaden Blue out of Texas. DJ Giddens would have been an awesome pick, in my opinion. Devin Neal was someone I was very high on. Damian Martinez had no right being available as long as he should have went on day two. Kyle Monangai is someone that I also had a higher grade on. Brashard Smith as well. I say had a higher grade on. That's not entirely fair. I didn't get to Hunter until after the draft, but if I would have graded Hunter, it probably would have been about an early day 3 pick. So the value's good and things like that, but I just thought there were better backs on the board, so that is going to ding this a bit. That being said, Hunter is still a very nice pickup, a very capable player in his own right. Just wanted to kind of get the quote-unquote negative out of the way before we talk about him. This is someone who has really good burst. He gets to the second level quickly. Pretty solid vision. You know, he's not somebody that's going to get stuck at the line. This isn't DeAndre Swift. This is a running back that knows what's happening in front of him. He's very decisive as a runner. He's got that like one-cut running style. He's a quick processor mentally. His play strength is better than you would think for someone his size. He has good enough long speed to generate explosives, so he does add a little splash of explosiveness to your run game, but not like a burner or anything like that. He's really good at getting skinny and squeezing through tiny cracks. He has good contact balance with a very low center of gravity. He has very good lateral agility. He's good at making that first man miss, and he isn't afraid to get behind his pads and pick up those tough yards when a defender's coming at him. That being said, he is undersized. He's not very good in pass pro. He's not somebody that's going to get around the edge and up the sideline consistently because of a non-elite speed profile. You're going to see him try to deploy a stiff arm from time to time, and it's just not very effective. That was something that I definitely saw watching him at Auburn. And his patience to let holes develop isn't great. Now, he'll take what he sees, but he almost has no interest in waiting. If nothing develops right away, he's going to try to force something, and that will get him in trouble. Also, ball security, 7 career fumbles, far from ideal. But, you know, as kind of that third running back to start out in LA's running back room, because I do still have faith in Blake Corum, definitely not something I can complain about. Did the Rams really need another running back? Maybe not. But, you know, I'm not going to say this was a bad pick by any means. It was a very solid pick, good pick even. Don't have a lot of complaints with this one. Just, you know, Hunter is a quality running back who is going to fight for reps. He's going to get himself on the field. Fantasy football guys will probably hate him because I'm sure he'll take reps from Kyren Williams from time to time. But to keep Kyren Williams fresh and have now 2 running backs behind him that you can trust on the field, that's always a good thing. So can't really say anything negative there. And then in the 5th round, they made an amazing selection and took Ty Hamilton, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. And the reason I say this is amazing is because he gives the Rams more run stuffing ability up front. That's not to say that I thought they like desperately needed it or anything, but the Rams have all these guys who are super, super good pass rushers, and I just feel like they were due for one of these guys who is the other way, right? Someone who is run defense first, pass rush second. Ty Hamilton does have a little bit of juice as a pass rusher, but you're drafting him saying, okay, we're going to plug him in on first, second down. He's going to do a great job against the run. And, you know, that's going to keep guys like Braden Fisk fresh for third down where he can do his best work rushing the passer. Or, you know, he can come in for Kobe Turner. He can come in for Poona Ford, who they just added. You know, he's going to have a role right away as a run stuffer. So running through my notes here, good height for a defensive tackle, pretty good athlete with great lateral movement and the ability to chase in pursuit pretty consistently. He's not slow by any means is what I'm trying to say there. He has a really explosive first step that is going to allow him to dictate first contact against the run, which is key, right? As we all know, if you make that first contact and it's good contact, you're deciding what happens with the guy across from you, and that can make a difference on early downs. He's another high motor player who's going to fight through the whistle consistently. His play strength is elite. He's super strong, especially in his upper body. And he also has really strong active hands that are going to allow him to jolt blockers upright. He can stack and shed both efficiently and effectively. His eye discipline against the run is fantastic. His gap discipline is also very good. His run diagnostics are also awesome. His anchor's really good. He has a strong lower body. He can get those knees bent and hold his own. He does a great job of gaining leverage as a run defender. Despite being 6'5", he's usually the low man, which is something you love to see. As a pass rusher, not a superstar, but he flashed an arsenal of moves, including multiple clubs that he was able to tap into from time to time to get in the backfield. He has a surprising amount of bend for a defensive tackle, and on top of that, he has experience as a nose tackle and as a 3 technique, as well as a 4-eye, which is probably more of what he's going to play for the Rams. On the flip side of things, though, not somebody with ideal length or weight, but as we've seen with the Rams, they don't care. That's something that we said about Josiah Stewart. It's something I said last year about Braden Fisk. Doesn't matter. The Rams want that motor. They want that effort. Ty Hamilton has that and then some. His lower body is a little bit stiff, so he's not going to change directions very well, which isn't a huge deal unless he's trying to turn and chase in pursuit. Despite his anchor, there are going to be moments where double teams are going to hurt him, but thankfully with this defense, it's hard to say that Ty Hamilton is the one you want to be double teaming. His pad level is something that needs to get better when he's rushing the passer. If he can figure that out, he would have a nasty bull rush. He needs to develop his pass rushing tool belt a little bit further, but again, with the Rams, I don't think that's something that is too far-fetched to think. With what they did with Fisk, I am fully convinced that Ty Hamilton can do the same and develop his pass rushing arsenal a little bit. And then, like I said, with his hands, while they're super aggressive and super strong, they're not the most accurate things in the world. He is going to be off target a little bit more than you'd like to see. If he can get that figured out, then he has the ability to be a true displacer on early down, somebody that is going to consistently get into the backfield or at least open up for his teammates to do so. So I thought that was an awesome pick across the board, both in terms of fit. I mean, he very much fits what the Rams like in these, outliers in terms of length or height or weight or whatever. Also gives you a lot of really good run defense, and I thought the value was great. I had a 3rd round grade on him, elite 3rd round grade. You get him here in the 5th round. So definitely can't complain about that one. That was a very nice selection. And then, believe it or not, 26 picks later, they took another player that I had a 3rd round grade on that fell to the 5th round somehow, in Chris Paul Jr., the linebacker out of Ole Miss. And I want you to just take a second. Let me know down in the comments below, why do you think Chris Paul fell to the 5th round? All right, put your pencils down. The answers are in, and the correct answer is that he is an outlier in terms of weight and length, as well as height. He's only 6'1". The Rams really do have a type. It extends beyond their defensive line and goes into their linebackers, it would seem, as Chris Paul is not only undersized, but he's a high motor player who's super smart and is going to make his money based off that, as opposed to being physically dominant. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, man. The Rams, it's so funny, and this is not a critique by any means, but I really feel like the Rams watched, The Brave Little Toaster or read The Little Engine That Could, and they had this epiphany, eureka! The rest of the league doesn't want these little guys that, don't fit the thresholds or whatever for size, so we'll take them all and assemble a super team, because fuck you. It really feels like that's what the Rams draft strategy has been, and it works. So taking a look here at Chris Paul, he's running through my notes here. Like I said, he has an active, aggressive demeanor that really shines through with his play. He's a quality athlete with good sideline-to-sideline ability, high motor defender who consistently runs hot in pursuit, great football IQ and instincts across the board. I mean, he just plays like a linebacker, if that makes sense. He's a very sound tackler despite that lack of length because his technique is incredible. This is a man who loves the fundamentals of tackling, and I could not get enough of it watching his tape. He has really good run diagnostics to read out rushing lanes and shoot gaps as a run defender. In zone coverage, he has great IQ and pretty good instincts, like I said, to make plays. He can hold his own in man coverage against running backs and tight ends. He has a nose for the ball, which is going to allow him to get into passing lanes and make plays at the catch point. And he is an explosive blitzer who does a really good job of shooting gaps. Now, that being said, painting the full picture here, taking a look at some of the quote-unquote weaknesses, it's just his size. His size, which is then going to play into his gap discipline because he's going to struggle to stack and peak. He also is going to struggle to stack and shed because of that lack of length. He also is going to bite on play action a little bit more than you'd like to see because it feels like he can't see over the line consistently. And then his play strength also because he is a little bit undersized. Just giving you an idea here, this is a 6'1", 222-pound linebacker who, has shorter than 30-inch arms. He's not a big guy, but it's okay because what he lacks in size, he makes up for in technique, football IQ, and effort. All that being said about him, like, I think he's going to plug into this defense very, very well. You look at the Rams linebacker room, it's not exactly filled with superstars, right? With Troy Reeder, Omar Spates, Nate Landman. These are guys that are fine, but I really think Chris Paul can be a plus starter in the NFL, especially if the Rams find out ways to work around that size, or if he's just able to play beyond his size, which is very possible. So, getting somebody who I think can be a starter like day one in the 5th round is a pretty good pickup. If he doesn't work out there, though, he's going to be a great backup. He's going to be someone you're going to want to have in your locker room, somebody that can really contribute on special teams. So either way, really good pick there. And then in the 7th round with their last pick, they took Konate Mumfield, the wide receiver out of Pitt. And I'm going to be honest, Mumfield is not someone that was on my radar pre-draft. I went back and watched a little bit after the draft. And I came away thinking, okay, you know what? Sure. He has the traits to make an NFL roster. He has the traits to, threaten downfield, to get open. But you're going to have to do a little bit of development with the route running, especially with the blocking. I mean, he really does not try at all as a blocker, which is a little bit weird given LA's kind of need for their wide receivers to block. But, I'm confident McVay can work that with him and help him develop if Mumfield is someone he feels is a long-term part of the receiver room. I don't know how likely that would be. We'll have to see. It's a 7th round pick, so not a lot of expectations there. But in terms of the process and just saying, hey, this guy has traits to make the team, I thought this was a good enough pick. So I gave that an A. But then we get into the UDFAs, and I have 2 guys I want to talk about. We're going to start off with one of my favorite players in the entire class, and Sean Dolock, the linebacker out of Buffalo, who I actually had an even higher grade on than Chris Paul. He was my LB3 in a linebacker class that honestly I wasn't super in love with, but he was one of my guys this year, and I really see him as someone that can be a starting linebacker. And not only be a starting linebacker, but a linebacker that can make a difference. However, why do you think he went undrafted? I'm not going to do this whole bit again. He's undersized. 6'1", 225 pounds, 30-inch arms, almost an identical size profile to Chris Paul Jr. He's somebody that, again, plays with a chip on his shoulder, super high effort. He's a former walk-on. He's a good athlete who can fly downhill against the run or play sideline to sideline. Great football IQ, very instinctive in both run and pass defense. Super sound tackler with notable production. Again, very, very technically sound. His run diagnostics are great. He's good at avoiding blockers to make plays in the backfield. Zone IQ is great. He's able to not only read what the quarterback's doing, but he's really good at, understanding spacing and being able to pass off routes and knowing when it's okay to let a receiver leave his area. He can hold his own in man-to-man against running backs and tight ends. Ball skills are awesome. He showed he was more than capable as a blitzer. And if all else fails, I mean, this dude's going to be a monster as a special teamer. Now, on the flip side, like I said, small. He's already 24. Play strength isn't super great. And then also you can say he played in the MAC and complain about that if you want to. I don't think that's a huge deal. I think he has the skills to translate. He reminds me a lot of Matt Milano. I know I haven't brought up comps a lot in this video, but I mean, he reminds me so much of Matt Milano. Down to the way they move and the way they carry themselves, there's a lot of similarities there. So, Dolock, I mean, I like him even more than I like Chris Paul. I think the 2 of them could be an awesome linebacker duo. We'll have to see if that's possible. The Rams might want at least one linebacker with some size. But who knows with the way they run this defense. I wouldn't be surprised if, the year is 2030 and every player on the Rams defense is 6 foot tall or shorter and they're a Super Bowl contender, right? Like, size does not matter. And speaking of size not mattering, the other UDFA I want to talk about is Willie Lampkin, the interior lineman out of the University of North Carolina, who is 5'11", 279 pounds. That is a small ass interior lineman. I think he's a center personally. But my God, he is so small, but he's so good. I'd like to push the point home that, like, he's small but a really good player, my comp for him was Jason Kelsey's mini-me. Like, he is such a good center. He's a fantastic athlete who can get up to the second level, block in space, or reach block if you need him to. Great play strength. His core is incredible. I mean, you would not think a guy this small can anchor the way he does, but he can. He's a quick, active hand fighter with great grip strength that allows him to jolt defenders upright with his punches. He's very technically sound as both a pass and run blocker. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about his core, but his natural leverage he's going to get on a down-to-down basis also really helps his anchor. His pad level is also very much helped by that size. He's a people mover in the run game with, like, one of the nastiest mean streaks I've seen out of an interior lineman prospect. His targeting system when climbing to the second level or blocking in space is awesome. And he played all three interior spots at North Carolina. So you could play him at center, you could play him at guard. Hell, if you want to get freaky, he has the athletic tools to go out there and play fullback or even play tight end. Like, he can be a part of your team. And it really blows my mind that Willie Lampkin, someone didn't take a chance on him on day 3. You know, like, when you get into the 6th, 7th round, I am really shocked that on day 3, someone didn't just go, you know what, he's small, I don't care, we'll find a spot for him on the team, give me Willie Lampkin, you know, in the 6th, 7th round. That being said, you know, the weaknesses, again, the size is, like, one of a kind. You know, you don't see sub 280-pound interior linemen for a reason, but, you know, I feel like there's a world where Lampkin can work. Also, if a longer defender gets their hands on him quickly, he is going to struggle to re-anchor and figure things out. So, definitely not like a can't-miss prospect. There's a reason my grade on him was only in the 4th round. But still, man, I think Willie Lampkin was absolutely worth taking a swing on. If him or Dolich would have been a pick on day 3, it would have been an A+ for me. But unfortunately, UDFAs do not count into my overall grades. Maybe that'll change next year, but for this year, that was not part of the equation for me. So, not counting those two as a whole with the Rams draft, I was a fan. I wasn't blown away by it, but I definitely thought there were some nice additions. Josiah Stewart, Ty Hamilton, Chris Paul, 3 guys on defense that I really think can contribute as soon as week 1. And then offensively, Hunter and Ferguson, I'm sure will find a role very quickly. Mumpfield, we'll have to see if he makes the team. But there's definitely traits there. And like I said, Dolich and Lampkin, I know they're UDFAs, but I'm probably more excited about them than the class as a whole. So with all that, I am going to give them a B+. I was definitely a fan of this class. And I'm even more excited, honestly, to see what they're going to do next year now that they have 2 first-round picks. I think that will be a lot of fun. It'll be very interesting to see how they attack it. But let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought about this draft class. You know, am I too high, too low on anybody? Were there any UDFAs that maybe I didn't mention that you're a fan of that I should check out, maybe talk about later on in the summer? Anything like that. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure there will be plenty of I told you so's for Braden Fisk, and I'm ready for it. Bring them on. I am here to accept my fate with open arms. But with that said, that will do it for this video. And also don't forget to leave a like down below, as it does help out the channel a ton. It shows your support, it shows you care, and I really do appreciate it. Hopefully the like to dislike ratio in this video will be better than the Rams video from last year. And also make sure to subscribe for more NFL content coming your way throughout the season. Who knows, maybe I talk about Braden Fisk even more, or one of these guys ends up getting a film breakdown during the season, maybe even a little bit before the season. I also have a film breakdown I did of the Rams defense during the playoffs last year against the Vikings. Really proud of that one. It didn't do super well, so I'm going to plug that here because if you're a Rams fan, I feel like you'll enjoy that video. That is a lot of me gassing up the Rams defense. I can't remember if Braden Fisk got talked about in that one. I'm sure he did, but either way, definitely a video that you won't want to miss if you're a Rams fan, and any future Rams videos, because I do like talking about the Rams, even though, you know, I got burnt last time I'm going to mention it. But yeah, above all else, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you enjoy it, because you're all wonderful people, and you truly do deserve it.
Had a chance on the throwback.
This was an ill-advised throw. What an unbelievable catch by Cole Kmet. And he cups it too. No movement when he hits the ground, tucked up against his shoulder. Wow.
Using that